Everybody, and welcome to another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. And we are joined again today by Peter Rohner of GBM Resources. And the reason I say again is because, to refresh your memories, GBM recently raised capital, and about a month ago, Peter was nice enough to host a Zoom conference call with us and our investor base just to go over the company and the prospects. And I must say that 180 Markets, the management team, alongside with many of our investors, did invest, Peter, into your business. And I couldn't say that we are more happy because we've got the gold price moving in the right direction. The operations, which we're going to discuss about with you, look to be moving along just fine. And finally, obviously, the share price is reacting smartly. So far, everything has really been, fully on track. And Peter, you've delivered. With that introduction, Peter has joined us today from on-site in Whitdam, and I must say that nothing for an explorer is more exciting than being on-site. Peter, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Thanks, Craig, and yeah, it's good to be talking to our shareholders and some of the shareholders you brought into the recent capital raise. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And a shout out also to Paul Dixon from Henslow Partners for arranging it. Paul, thank you very much. Peter, I thought we would just get kind of right into it. You're on site. Tell us what you're seeing so far. We really wanted to get an operational update. And what are your thoughts?
Yeah, look, obviously our key asset's Mount Coolum, but we're in the stages of commissioning our new copper recovery circuit at the White Dam Gold joint venture with Round Oak Minerals. I just arrived yesterday, and the plant is essentially finished. We've water tested all the equipment, and I'm basically now starting to add reagent to start producing copper. So the plant basically is like a kidney on a gold heap leach operation, and copper leaching has been hampering the gold recovery on the ore that was stacked onto the heap leach pad. And we're basically commissioning a bit like a kidney, where we're taking some of that heap leach solution and removing copper, and then essentially regenerating cyanide that can go up and leach additional gold and additional copper. So yeah, here for the next week and a bit, helping the guys before some other technical people come here to help commission. But looking forward to getting copper production started this week.
Yeah, fantastic. And then obviously, like, this is a potential for the business near-term cash flow or type of project. How does it fit in your mind still with the other projects in the overall business? Look,
it's as I said, our flagship projects really is Mount Coolum, but this asset provides us a smaller cash flow opportunity. It's a skill set that obviously I bring to the company, along with my sort of other business, Core Resources. In the short term, it's a small project that's just liberating additional gold and copper out of the existing heaps on site. Longer term, it's about developing the additional resources that are still here that have higher copper levels and some of the lower grade resources that weren't mined when the gold price was lower. So this operation ceased stacking ore on the heap in 2018, and the gold price was then around 1,600 Aussie. So with the much higher gold price, there's definitely additional resources here that we believe can be economically treated, and that's really the second phase of this joint venture. First stage is small production, generating some cash flow. Then the second stage is really taking the resource base that's here and trying to build a larger production base here. Still quite modest, but still a very useful cash flow addition to GBM.
Absolutely. And I think that one of the attractions to us was the fact that you had this near-term cash flow opportunity alongside with you and the new management team that we'll touch base on later on. But that certainly it is maybe a smaller project, but still important to the business. And then just turning maybe on to, obviously, the flagship is Mount Coolum. Can you give us your thoughts, updates? We haven't touched base in as I said, in a little time, but just your thoughts now.
Yeah, look, the guys, Peter Mullins, Steve Nano, and a number of other people involved in the project were up on site a few weeks ago. So that site visit was really about finalising the exploration program that we want to start in the second half of this calendar year, post obviously the capital raising. We had allocated in the entitlements offer about 1.7 million towards Mount Coolum drilling and exploration activities in the next 3 to 6 months. But with the sort of increase in the capital raising and the interest, we'll probably increase that slightly to $2.2 to $2.3 million between now and the end of the year. So basically the drilling program and the ground IP programs are being finalised now. We're talking to drilling contractors to get moving in August, early September, late August, early September, to get drilling activities commenced.
Right, so that would put us in a position to probably release some type of drilling results towards calendar Q4 of the year, November, December-ish.
Yes.
Is that the?
Yeah, so we're looking at about 3,500 to 5,000 meters of drilling, predominantly at Koala and Glen Eva initially. Probably the second phase of drilling will be at Eugenia and Bimra, some of our other targets. And then in the background, your key activities is really getting ground IP moving on the sort of strike extension of Glen Eva down to the southeast, which covers the silicious zone and southeast of Koala, which is the Verbena zone. So really the focus is we've got drill ready targets now in Koala and Glen Eva, and then some of the other prospects that need a little bit probably better targeting with some ground IP. Get those things moving in the background, ready for drilling early next year on those secondary targets.
Great. And also, just as a refresher for people that don't necessarily know, why is Coolum, such an underexplored area of Australia, say compared to some other areas?
Yeah, look, it's had a pretty fragmented ownership over the last sort of 20 years. Obviously, the last major activity in mining activity was Ross Mining back in the late 80s to early 90s to mid 90s, and then sort of subsequent to the late 90s, early 2000s, the ownership was quite fragmented. People came there, like Drum & Gold came there and really only spent about a year looking at the area, and then got distracted on other assets in Victoria and elsewhere. GBM obviously did a little bit of drilling over the last 5 years on Koala and Glen Eva to get a JORC resource pinned together there of 330,000 ounces. But there's probably two things. One, the fragmented ownership, and then second thing is people's understanding of these systems, and obviously the higher gold price, really allows us now to probably better target some of the structures. The understanding that Steve Nano and Peter Mullen's got from the South American epithermal systems at Santa Cruz, that sort of know-how and knowledge over the last 10 or 15 years really helps us probably better target where we want to drill and where we want to explore. Better targets the systems in terms of the heights. We see systems in Mount Coolum that range from the upper part of the epithermal low sulphidization system down to quite deep, 400 or 500 meters. So yeah, understanding where you are in the system allows you to better probably target where you want to be drilling for those higher grade, more bonanza zones in the low sulphidization epithermal systems.
Right, and so, on that note, also just digging in, across the board, would you say that technology in your industry in the last, call it 10 to 20 years, has really made a lot of drilling, a lot of prospecting that may have otherwise been underexplored or underappreciated? Has that really been a game changer in your mind?
Look, I think it's not necessarily technology, like IP, the IP and mag survey stuff has improved, but it's probably understanding where you are in the system, understanding that these systems vertically extend a lot more than 100 or 200 metres that previously was probably the thinking. And we're certainly seeing that in Pajingo. The Minjar Pajingo operation keeps finding additional resources and loads sort of down dip, and they're down at sort of 450 to 500 metres now. So it's probably twofold. Well, it's threefold. The technology's certainly improving. The gold price environment clearly helps. 3-4 gram underground resources, when the gold price was lower, were probably not that attractive, whereas they're very attractive now. And just the better understanding of the geology and how these systems plunge and the vertical extents, and maybe where you are in the system, whether you're at the top of the sort of mercury-rich top zone of the low sulphidization system, or down deeper into the bonanza feeder zones. So they're the sort of key things that we think we can bring some different thinking to the area, and obviously funding is important. If you want to keep methodically drilling these systems, you need funding, and GBM probably ran out of options 6-12 months ago in terms of their shareholder base and the ability to talk about the projects and attract new investors, whereas we've obviously done a reasonable job of raising just under around $7.5 million in the last few months.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can certainly echo that for sure. Just turning on to your the Mosberry project, and the agreement with Novo. Can you just discuss that a little bit, please? Just where that's at.
Yeah, so Novo signed an agreement in April with us for an option to acquire the 50% stake in our Malmesbury asset. They basically got 6 months, so till the end of September, to exercise that option. What they're, I suppose, doing in the background is their key requirement is being comfortable that we can get on the ground and do drilling and sampling on the ground without any issues sort of from the local community. So we've basically mapped out a program of work now in conjunction with Novo of how we see the next 3 to 6 months of work program progressing. They've basically had input into that. We're starting to execute that work program. In parallel, we're obviously starting the community engagement again with the local community, and that's obviously a key criteria for Novo, getting comfortable that as I said, we can get work done on the ground in our tenements. Obviously, subsequent to that deal, we've also, they were holding off probably a little bit until we got the retention license granted, which we got granted about 3 or 4 weeks ago. So we now have a retention license granted on that project. So it was upgraded from an exploration license to a retention license because it has a resource. And it's really now about working with Novo to get them comfortable to exercise their option, but obviously in the background, us just progressing a sensible work program to advance that project.
Right, and that's great. And also, I know you mentioned before about having the cash and having the funding on hand, and there's an expression in mining that you think about the next capital raise as soon as your first one's finished. But from the cash point of view, do you feel comfortable between all your projects? How does the next 6 to 12 months look for you?
Yeah, look, we're well funded now. We've got post this capital raise and obviously expenditure on finalising the plant here at White Dam. We've got about 7.4 million by the end of July. So we're well funded through to the middle of next year with our programs that we've outlined on all our assets. If Novo exercise their option in September, we obviously get another $6 to $6.5 million worth of Novo shares on top of the sort of $800,000 worth of Novo shares we already own. So, if Novo exercise their option, we will be well and truly funded through to the end of next year, and may be able to, accelerate activities either in Mount Coolum in terms of exploration activities, or some of the consolidation activities we've been disclosing to the market with some of the other assets in the Drummond Basin. So not not imagining we need to come back to the market, but obviously if there's specific, assets that we want to acquire that in the Drummond Basin that make that consolidation story advance, then there may be a reason to go back to the market for some additional funding, but nothing envisaged at the moment.
Right, great. And then also, I guess that, sitting here we're in Victoria, where we're going into another stage of lockdown, can't help but discuss, COVID. What are the impacts that you're seeing on your business at this point in time? Obviously subject to change quickly.
Yeah, look, with White Dam, not a lot of impacts. We've had a few minor supply delays on some equipment from Germany that made us have to sort of change to some local pumps. So nothing major there. We've probably lost a few weeks just in some delivery of some critical reagent pump parts. So nothing significant. In terms of exploration activities, Queensland, we're well covered because obviously most of our team is in Queensland. So no issues getting up and back to our assets in the Drummond Basin and Mount Morgan. In Victoria, we've got 3 or 4 people, Neil Norris, one of our current directors, plus a couple of other people based in Castlemaine. So again, no real issues getting on the ground there. Probably the only issue I see is if Novo wanted to put people from WA or people from overseas into Victoria to, maybe get more comfort on the community and social license sort of issues. Obviously, that's quite difficult for them at the moment. So there could be an impact there on the timing of exercising their option. But obviously, Quinton has, a couple of times referenced the GBM project, Malmesbury, as being the closest analogue to Fosterville that he's seen. So, based on those comments, I'd be fairly confident that he will exercise, Novo will exercise their option. But obviously, it's in their court.
Right, absolutely. And, I guess that segues, you mentioned about overseas people. You actually now have overseas shareholders. And one of the big attractions that we thought was with, you and the management team was your kind of no nonsense and disciplined approach to the business. Can you just talk about a little bit about your management style? And we view it as, disciplined as far as, capital management, exploration, risk taking within risk control framework. Just what is that how you approach the business? Yeah, look,
as we've said with, obviously some of our shareholders probably didn't like the deal with Novo. They wanted us to keep 100% of Malmesbury, but, we've got a clear focus on Mount Coolum. We've got a big ground position up there. We believe there's significant potential to find, a multi-million ounce deposit in our ground. So we need to stay focused on Mount Coolum, but obviously some modest amount of capital going to White Dam to generate some cash flow and bring some skills into the business that might be transferable to Mount Coolum. So that's, I didn't mention it earlier, but that's one of the linkages with White Dam is having access to a heap leach skill set here at the mine is certainly something that we may be able to transplant to Mount Coolum should we find additional, oxide resources. And then, the other assets, Mount Malmesbury, we like Malmesbury, but we can't fund everything. We like Mount Morgan, but we're certainly looking to package up that asset and bring in a stronger joint venture partner. We've already got our Cloncurry assets well funded with our Japanese joint venture partners there. So for us, it's about, maintaining the focus on Mount Coolum, making sure that the money we raise gets spent on Mount Coolum and delivers the results we expect.
Fantastic, Peter. Well, Peter, sorry to it's such a short amount of time, but they are 18-minute interviews, and we really are appreciative of your time and the operational update. We're shareholders, investors, and we're thrilled with what you're doing. Everything does seem to be in the right direction, and really sounds like the next big announcement phase will probably be more towards November, December, when we'll get some drilling results. And Peter, if you have any closing remarks, just let us know.
Yeah, look, thanks, Greg. Look, we've obviously got some nearer term news on White Dam with the commissioning and then a resource upgrade that that we'll announce over the next few weeks. So the resources here were sort of 2004 JORC compliant. We'll bring them up to 2012 JORC compliant resources. And then, yeah, obviously Malmesbury and Mount Coolum field work, is really commencing as of now. And then, the drilling activities at Mount Coolum in August, September. So looking forward to, good news flow over the next 3 to 4 months.
Fantastic. Peter, thank you very much for your time. We appreciate it, and look forward to seeing you in person sometime soon.
Yeah, great. Thanks a lot, Greg.
Bye-bye.